What's up, backyard bassing fans? All right, today I know this is kind of a little bit early, but I want to touch base on this because we're still in this fall bite. Actually, we just got to it here in the Midwest. Weather finally kind of flipped, so we're actually getting into the actual fall bite pretty quick. I think it's going to make a turn pretty fast. I don't know if we're going to get much of a fall bite. I think it's going to go pretty much straight to winter here in the next couple weeks. So, want to get this in pretty quick, just because this does start off kind of in the fall bite. First thing is going to be the S-Waver. You guys can see this here. This is the S-Waver 200. I'm going to throw this typically a lot in the fall, even in that first beginning part of fall bite, because you've got your shad and your bait fish and everything else really schooling up. If I'm looking for that little bit bigger bite, I definitely am going to throw these through them bait schools and everything else. Get into the back of coves and shallow pockets and stuff like that, and really just work this bait. As far as retrieve on this bait, it's pretty simple. Really, you can do it just with the crank of your wrist. You can just really just crank that thing just a little bit each time, and you can actually watch this bait just walk back and forth. It's got a real wide stride to it. This thing, it's so easy to work, it's not even funny. I mean, a beginner could really go out there and work this bait. It's that simple. But you can kind of try to play around with the retrieves a little bit and just get what you think you like or whatever. I'm not going to get too far in depth with that right now. I'll do a video on that later on if you guys want. But like I said, the S-Waver 200 or even the 168 size are great baits for that beginning fall bite. So get on this next one here. Now this is getting a little bit more into what I consider that getting into that tougher fall bite or into that winter bite. These are typically things that I throw. And we'll start off with the smaller ones. So this one here, this is the, I think it's called the Storm Walleye. This is their, I think, a 3-inch. It already comes preset with a hook in it and everything else. It's got a weighted front head on it. I think this one here is actually a 1/2 ounce. This is a great little bait to mimic other bait fish. The reason this one, if you can see that, hopefully you can, it's got that chartreuse top on there. The reason I got that is to stand out of the crowd a little bit. You can see looking from the bottom up, you don't see that chartreuse. It just looks like any other bait fish that you're swimming through. But that little bit of chartreuse on it will make that bait stand out a little bit better than what all the other bait fish around are. So that's a really, really good bait to start off with. As far as retrieves go, kind of a slow, steady retrieve right through the bait balls and stuff like that. If you're up close to a bank, you know, you can kind of do that stop and go retrieve. Works really well with that too. So, like I said, that's the second bait. That's the smallest one I'm going to go with here. Second one is actually another storm. This is the Walleye 2. This is a little bit bigger version. This is, I think, the 4.5 inch. Once again, this bait it does come, you know, pre-rigged and everything else. So once these get tore up, they're done. Don't know what to tell you guys there. They're pretty cheap baits. You can get them at Walmart. So, and I will link everything down in the description so you guys can go find it pretty easily. The one thing I like about this bait here, and this one in particular, is I got this strictly from my pond. My pond does not have a lot of bait fish in it. I put, I don't know how many pounds of bait fish in there, fathead minnows and shiners and everything else. They don't last. I mean, I'm just feeding my bass is all I'm doing with them. So the bluegill are their next big thing, and this thing mimics a bluegill very, very well. I fish this a lot close to the bank. You don't see the bluegill, you know, really getting up in big groups and schools like you do the bait fish, but at the beginning of fall and end of fall, you'll see the bluegill really come to the top of the water, and then you can usually go with something like this and really get a bite. So that's just normal paddle tail, you know, like you see there. But nothing special about it. Like I said, it's a pretty cheap setup, but they do work. On from there, I'm going to go with the Shadowlicious. This is the 5.5 inch Shadowlicious. This is really about the only color I buy the Shadowlicious in. I don't get real crazy with the colors. I want to mimic just the bait fish that are already there. My local lakes here have some pretty big shad in them. So this one here, I mean, it's a perfect match for, you know, talk about matching the hatch. You can't beat that right there. This has got a little bit bigger tail, a little bit thicker tail. So with this bait, I will tell you, instead of coming through the water and just back and forth like this thing constantly rolls. I mean, it's got a ton of roll in it, and that's one of the particular reasons that I really like this bait. So once again, you can go through bait schools with this thing, you can go down the bank with it, but probably one of my all-time favorites is throwing it on a weedless setup. Let me see, I might actually have a hook here. So right like this, you know, screw lock hook here, weighted hook. This is the Owner Beast hook. I really like that for that thing. But you can put that on there and just slow roll that on the bottom, and that boot tail has plenty of room there to kick back and forth, and plus the body roll, and it will get you some big bites, I can tell you that. And I'll even fish this in the dead of winter too. So on from there, this one here, this is a little bit bigger swim bait. I think this is a 7-inch, 7 or 8 inch. Like I said, I'll link everything down in the description so you can see it. But this is the Boom Boom. This bait here in particular, you kind of see there, it's just an awesome all-around bait just to slow roll on the bottom. Typically, that's about the only time I throw this bait is in the winter when I'm wanting to slow roll. The plastic back here is a little bit softer, so you still get the action. And guys, keep that in mind when you have swim baits. When you're going into winter and you get that colder water, you need certain swim baits to swim in that colder water, because most plastics are going to kind of get cold and they'll harden up. These are actually made for that little bit colder water. Years ago when the Huddlestons come out, that's what those baits are made for. They're made to run in that colder water with that big boot tail, and they still have movement to them. Even that slow retrieve and that real cold water, they still move back and forth. So keep that in mind if you're going to go buy some bigger swim baits. But once again, that's on that Owner Beast hook, that screw lock hook. I think this one is actually a 7/0, and that's what I throw on that one. So on from there, this bait, guys, this is the only one I will not have down in the description. I can show you here real quick. It's just like a Huddleston 68 Special. It's a 6-inch body, but it's got like the 8-inch tail for the Huddleston. I can't find it on Bass Pro's web. I think that is because a couple years ago when I bought these, I bought it because it looked just like the Huddleston, and I actually bought about 5 or 6 of them. But I think about a month after that, maybe 2 months after that, I had read something on, I don't remember what website it was, that Bass Pro was actually getting, I guess, sued or copyrighted or something for making this after the Huddleston. So I don't think you can get them anymore. But I can tell you guys, I've had the Huddleston 68 Special. I still have it. It's just at the bottom of my pond. So they work very, very well, I will tell you that. But the thing you guys want to keep in mind if you're buying Huddleston and stuff like that, look at the ROF, which is the rate of fall. If you've got a little bit deeper water to fish, I'm going to say probably 10 foot plus and deeper, you want to go with that rate of fall, that 15 foot, or I think they offer an 18 foot rate of fall. What it is, it's a little bit heavier head in it, so it falls a little bit faster. I can tell you these Bass Pro ones, I think the rate of fall in those is only like 5, and it takes forever to get down to the bottom, and it doesn't keep contact with the bottom. And that's something that just drove me nuts. One thing I did with these, you can get you BBs will work, little lead balls, bearings will work, and make a little slit back here. You can put a couple in there, and then I've actually got a little hole up here. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but there's a little hole up there that I'll stick a couple of them in there, and that'll keep my rate of fall a little bit higher so it gets down faster and keeps contact with the bottom. This is an open exposed hook. It does have a ring down here that you can put a treble hook on. If you're going to run a treble hook, what I suggest doing is getting the treble hook, and you have one hook on that treble hook that's offset from the other two. You'll put that split ring on there, and you'll bring that other one back, and you'll actually hook that third one that's offset into the body here. So you'll have 2 hooks on the side. That will improve your hookup ratio a ton, and it is well worth it. But that's only if you're going to swim that thing and not make contact with the bottom. Otherwise, you're going to get hung up a bunch. So keep that in mind. But guys, that's pretty much my swim baits going, like I said, from the kind of an early fall bite into that winter bite. I will do a video later on explaining a little bit more on these just in particular ones here on actually how I do my retrieve, but I want to do that out on the boat and actually show you guys how I do that. And as far as, you know, putting ball bearings and stuff like that in these, I will do a video on that too, just to show you guys, just kind of saving them videos for a little bit later in the winter, you know, when I can't get out there and go fishing. So let me know what you guys think of the video and everything, and how everything's going. If you have any questions or anything, leave them down in the comments. Like I said, all this stuff here I will leave down in the description for you guys to go find, except for that one from Bass Pro that I cannot find at all. But like I said, you can go get the Huddleston 68 Special. It's the same thing. It's actually a little bit better, and the plastic's a lot better on it too, I will tell you that. So that's all I got for tonight, guys. I'll